All right, we'll call the meeting to order. Welcome, everybody. Today is March 26th. This is our regular monthly meeting of the Hutchinson Utilities Commission. Agenda item number 1 is to declare any conflicts of interest by any of the commissioners.
No.
I have a conflict myself. Redline Systems is on the payables this month, so I'll be abstaining from this vote. Item 2 is to approve the consent agenda, approve the minutes, and ratify the payment of bills.
So move.
Second.
Motion by Don, second by Tom. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's approved. Agenda item 3 is to approve the 2024 financial audit presentation by Justin McGov. Welcome, Justin.
Hey, thank you very
Justin.
much for having me.
Justin.
Hi, Justin.
All right, so we did give you a few different products this afternoon. What I'm going to follow is the one that's on the screen here. This is really just a summary of your independent auditor's reports and the letter from us as auditors to the commission level to let you know how the audit went, any recommendations we may have. So if I'm going through my presentation today and you're looking for more detail, more information, the other 2 bound documents are a great place to start, but otherwise feel free to interrupt and ask any questions you may have. So I'll jump right into it. Pages 1 and 2 of our presentation today really describe what our independent auditor's report is, the intent of our audit, which is determined if our financial statements are free from material misstatement, the standards we follow to come to that conclusion, and the responsibility of both parties, us as the auditors and you as the commission. Really the big takeaway is the big bold letters at the top there. Your financial statements are presented fairly in our opinion, cannot be relied upon for gauging performance of the commission as well as for future decision-making purposes. On page 3 here, we jump into the numbers. So the statement of net positions, the overall balance sheet of the commission, if you will. And we look at it at 2 points in time. So December 31st, 2023 and December 31st, 2024. So you can see where some of the changes happened between the years. Starting at the top, current assets. These are the things like your cash balances, accounts receivable, prepaid expenses, those types of items. You can see here your current assets are down in 2024 compared to 2023, and that is largely due to some significant capital activity that was made in both the electric and the natural gas systems in 2024. Some of the electrical additions that you saw were the engine one exchange, substation transformer, equipment, vehicle purchases, and in the natural gas division, the interconnection with Heartland Corn was a big one. That was probably the largest one, as well as other equipment purchases made in 2024. So that point I just covered kind of leads me to my next point, which is your net capital asset. That's the infrastructure, the buildings, the equipment. You see there's a pretty healthy increase in your capital asset balance between 23 and 24 as that cash that you had on hand was spent and converted into a physical capital asset. On the bottom half, looking at your current liabilities, these would be your routine bills. So occupancy, payroll, payments to vendors. And you had an increase there in 24 compared to 2025 or 2023, excuse me, largely due to purchase power. So purchase power bills for December were a little bit higher at the end of 2024 compared to 2023. So you saw a slight increase there in that current liability line item. Your long-term liabilities, these are your debt balances, also your net pension liability with the Public Employee Retirement Association. You saw a pretty significant decrease in those long-term liability balances as you continue to make your regularly scheduled debt payments. And then your net pension liability had a pretty healthy decrease as well, as your portion of PERA's net pension liability went down, not necessarily from a percentage standpoint of how much of that liability is yours, but the overall funding status of that pension plan. In 2024, they were about 89% funded for what they project to pay out in future benefits versus what they think they're going to have on hand to make those benefits to retirees. And at the very bottom there, your net position. So if you could pay off all the debts of the commission and sell all your assets, this is what you would have left over. You did have a fairly healthy increase in 24 compared to 23. Gain on the fair value of your investments was a big part of that, and we'll look at the individual divisions here in a few slides so you can see how it impacts each division individually. And then on page 4 here, we have your cash and investment balances, not only the balances over the last 5 years, but that classification of those balances. Your restricted balances remained relatively steady. That's largely due to debt covenants you have to keep that cash on hand to make future debt payments. But the big change you saw was in your operating cash balances. Largely due to that cash I talked about 2 slides ago with your statement of net position, or excuse me, 1 slide ago with your statement of net position, that cash converting into physical capital assets. And looking at the operations of the commission, so your operating revenues were down, really for both divisions. But you can see that you did have some slight decreases in your operating expenses as well. Not enough to maybe cover that full decrease in your operating revenues, but you see your non-operating revenues did go up. It's your investment income, your bond amortization, those types of items. Looking at just the electric division, the operations, results of operations for the past 5 years, you can see the electric division, the operating revenues do not cover the operating expenses. Depreciation, or that wear and tear on your current existing assets, is a big part of that electric division. So it's not recovering its costs through operating revenues. But you did see that your net non-operating revenues expenses, so like your investment income, is helping offset that operating loss that you see in the electric division. And you can kind of see the change in your net position, or that net position that I talked a few slides ago about. That's the impact of those non-operating revenue, or excuse me, operating revenues not covering your operating expenses. So you did have another decrease in your net position in 2024. It's kind of been similar to that trend we've seen the last 3 years. 2020 was kind of the outlier. You had a large Missouri River energy refund that came in as a non-operating item that resulted in an increase in your net position, but typically that division operates at a loss. And then looking at revenue per kilowatt hour that is sold by the commission, looking at 2023 compared to 2024. So you had a little bit of an increase in overall across all the classes, that revenue per kilowatt hour. The Energy Information Administration says Minnesota's at about 12 cents per kilowatt hour. You're a little bit below that, but you can see where you sit with some of your peers in the state of Minnesota. In the natural gas division, similar slides we saw with the electric division. However, this one does have an operating profit. So it's operating at a level where those costs to provide that natural gas is covering the cost to provide that natural gas. You can see here the effects of that operating gain that you have from year to year. And 2024 was higher in the overall change in that position, largely due to those non-operating revenues, investment income, the amortization of the bond premiums. So it's pushing you up higher than what you saw in 2023. And then looking at the revenue per metric cubic foot, what we have here is you have a slight decrease really across all those different classes from 23 into 24. But you did sell less cubic feet, but you didn't see that same level of decrease in the revenue. So it kind of says that you're making more per cubic foot sold, even if you're not selling as much. And then that's all the numbers I was going to cover with you today. In addition to the financial statements that we do provide, we also, we call it a management letter, but really it's a letter from us as auditors to you at the commission level to let you know how the audit went. Any disagreements you had with your team, any change in accounting principles or accounting standards in 2024, we're happy to report none on both accounts. It's been a lot of changes to your accounting standards, or the governmental accounting standards over the years, the last few years. So this year they gave us a little break, I guess. So no big changes to how your numbers are being recorded or accounted for this year. And then another thing we have is there's any recommendations that we may have for the commission. We didn't have any this year. Usually they are kind of more informational with changes coming down the pike in either accounting standards or state laws. You remember last year we talked about the employee safe and sick time law that was coming into effect in 2024 that has been implemented. So we really don't have any major changes right now. The next one probably that Family Medical Leave Act that the state's looking at, but that one is not set to take effect till next year, and even then they're still looking at how that's going to roll out and who's impacted by it. So we'll try to stay abreast of that and any changes that we become aware of, we'll make sure to let you guys know as well. So with that, I'll open it up to any questions anybody has right now. Otherwise, if there are none, you have the contact information, so if you're looking through some of this in your free time and you have questions that do come up, please feel free to reach out and ask any questions or anything that you may have for us as your auditors. Any questions from anybody?
Sounds like a pretty clean bill of health.
It was a great audit, and we want to thank the whole team here, Jeremy and Jared, everybody else. We ask a lot, not only of your team, but your vendors, your banks, the city, the county, the state. Everybody was very helpful in getting us the information we needed to complete the audit, and so I can be here today and deliver it. And we can get it to the city so they can get it rolled up in their audit. So,
Thank you.
all right.
Thanks, Justin.
Thank you.
Thanks, Justin.
All right, hearing that, anybody care to make a motion to approve this audit?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Troy,
I'll second.
second by Don. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item number 4 is to approve the financial statements.
Start. I don't have a whole lot. If you look on the electric, you'll see the net profit was up by about 100,000. Part of that was, you'll see we wrote 150,000 extra in the PCA we charged the customers compared to last year was none. And then if you look at purchase power, it looks like it was up by 180,000. Really, it's more like 60,000 because last year MISO had a $120,000 adjustment that decreased it. Sometimes they do occasional adjustments from prior months, prior years. So that took care of that. And on the gas side, you'll notice it was a really good month. Part of that was I just looked at right before I came here, the heating degree days were up almost 50% compared to last year. So much colder February contributed to the big increase in net profit. Anyways, that's all I had.
Thanks, Jared.
Yeah, I was just going to touch on I'm tracking obviously year to date on the electric side and the gas as far as usage. So we're actually trending just a hair above last year, except for the industrial class. Keep in mind, last year had leap year in February, so there's an extra day in 2024 that there isn't in 2025. So when you look at the true days to days, we're actually just a hair above pace of last year, trending on that side. Even in the industrial class, it shows we're behind. We're pretty much right on was where we would be if you analyze the same number of days. So obviously you guys knew it was colder in January and February this year than last year, so usage was up, particularly for most classes. All electric is going to be up when it's colder out because they use electricity to heat their homes, so that's why you see that disproportionate increase in percentage-wise is that's their heating source is electricity. Otherwise, I think Jared touched on most of those things. We talked a little bit last month about the rate stabilization funds and how those are working, and that we can anticipate seeing power cost adjustments moving forward. Again, if you look at the balance sheet, we're below the $400,000 threshold, so our costs of power are going up. Our wholesale costs are up, about 5% this year, and they're anticipated to be, 3 to 5% increases from here on out for the next 4 or 5 years. So our costs of power are going to continually go up, and the PCA is going to cover a big portion of that. In addition to, we have one more rate adjustment that's happening that you guys put in place, and you can kind of see that on those audited numbers that Justin sent out, that our rate increases are adjusting the way they should be, that we're increasing more. Otherwise, we're tracking pretty good on that side, and then on the gas side, it was what I anticipated with the cold stretches in January and February. We're significantly outpacing January at this point on that side, so everything was looking pretty good from that regard as well. Even in that case, we still did provide a credit back of 61 cents in MCF. So again, we're over $600,000 in that rate stabilization fund, and we've talked about the last couple months that our base load fixed gas is well below the 525 benchmark, and so I anticipate giving credits back fairly frequently here. In this year's budget, we have $900,000 worth of credits to give back, is what I'm anticipating or estimating. So you're going to see quite a bit of that stuff coming down the pike based on what we've done on the gas side. Otherwise, nothing else on the balance sheet really stood out. The other piece that I've touched on in the past, just on the investment side of things, we're keeping things more short term, just for liquidity until we make some decisions on cash flow and financing, and we'll talk about those things here over the next couple of months. So everything is trending as I would expect for this year. So we're in pretty good shape. Obviously, our cash balance is down because we've had some significant cash investments and things from last year. So trending where I thought we'd be. So, any questions on the financial information?
On here.
No.
You guys good?
Okay.
Anybody care to make a motion to approve the financial statements?
A motion.
I'll second. Motion by Tom, second by Troy. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is approved. Agenda item 5 is open forum. I don't see any guests today. We'll move on to agenda item 6, communication. We'll start with the city administrator, Matt.
Not a whole lot. I will just note there is a lot of talk about development, which is great. We'll kind of wait and see what plays out. 2 things that are for surely coming forth. One was Elk Ridge Estates, which is the old Albrecht farm. Their preliminary plat was approved by the council on Tuesday, and then staff just received the preliminary plat for the landing project, which is a downtown apartment complex. So we're looking at 2 significant developments this summer, probably most likely starting, so which is good. Otherwise, that's it.
All right, thanks, Matt. We go into divisions. Dan?
Nothing today.
Nothing?
Nothing for me.
So the 2 Caterpillar engines down at Plant 1 have had an oil leak issue since we got them in 2018. Caterpillar Germany had been testing a repair. The repair is finally deemed that they were going to go commercial with it. So Ziegler Cat out of the Twin Cities area is on site installing the fix. So it's a warranty claim back from 2018 that obviously we're not under warranty anymore, but Caterpillar Germany is honoring the issue. So they're on site installing that now. So the plant is tagged for that, and then the modifications to the side stream filter pot that you guys approved in the last commission meeting was completed by Pioneer Power, and that all turned out really well, so that worked well. And then the stack testing at both plants 1 and 2 were completed last week. Everything looked really good on the initial testing, but I haven't received the official report back, so other than that, that's all I have. So nothing new for me.
Human Resources, Angie.
Working on the natural gas manager position. We finished up 2nd round interviews this week, so we'll do some more, have some more discussion and move forward and see where we're going with that.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Legal, Mark.
Nothing today.
Thank you. Back to you, Jeremy.
Just a couple items to touch on. I did send some communication on plant tours. I did hear back from a couple commissioners. If some of your other commissioners are interested, I'm going to try to look to set something up in April here before we really start getting into our run season. And we'll take a tour of both plants. If you haven't seen those or have seen those and you just want to refresh and kind of look at how things are looking, just let me know here and I'll try to get something scheduled here in April. Angie talked about the gas reviews. That's continually moving along. On the natural gas prepay item side of things, I'm starting to put information together for that potential prepay deal coming down the pike here sometime this summer is what we're anticipating. I do have a potential lining up a meeting with Heartland Corn next Thursday to meet with Heartland Corn and their gas supplier and our CEO at MMGA and me to go through how that process would work, to include them in the discount program, and of course we'd be their customer as the transmission customer and would receive some financial benefit for that too. So trying to work through that, make sure they're comfortable with putting load in that prepay deal, but that seems to be moving in a good direction, and Tom's very interested in partaking in that and getting some discount on the volume of gas. They would be the largest off-taker in this prepay deal, would be the ethanol plant. So still working through that piece. Working through a tolling agreement. I'm hoping to get something kind of finalized here over the next month and hopefully have something for you guys in April to lock up potentially some generation and another tolling agreement that would help on our kind of our market side or side of things. So working through some of that piece. Staff and I and Mark have been working through some draft energy contract information for prospective customer that's looking to come into town, and working with the city to work through the planning and zoning process. So we're in the kind of preliminary stages of working through that to see if we can get something put in place here. So working through some of those things. Did set out the cash flow projections and some of the general modeling to the commission a couple weeks ago before I went on vacation. So if you haven't had a chance to really look through that stuff, please take a chance to look through that information. Certainly, if you guys have questions or thoughts, stop in, give me a call. I do anticipate, I think once we get the full board back here, we should probably look to get together. It may be a special meeting in April. I know Kathy's back here in April. I think, Don, you're going to be out for the April commission meeting, correct? So we should look to get together in April, probably have a special meeting. So kind of be thinking about your schedule and we should work through that so that we have some direction as we start getting into the next several months where we'll have some significant cash outlay here, late summer, early fall, so that we have a game plan going into where we want to be. So, but take your time looking through that stuff. There's a lot of information there, a lot of things to consider, and then we can kind of touch base on that. So kind of look at your schedule in April, see what may work for you guys as well. And then working through on some of the things on the gas side, we're working through some of the gap analysis with Renegade, our consultant, on that traceable, verifiable, complete information, new PHMSA regulations, particularly on the transmission side of things. So any areas where you have high consequent or moderate consequent areas, you have to now be able to trace heat rates on your pipeline and your piping systems and all your components. And so we're working through to identify what gaps we have in our records. And obviously, once we find out some of those things, we're going to have to create some additional processes to make sure that we can track stuff on our transmission line. There is anticipation that it's going to get down to the distribution level as well. It hasn't been finally regulated, but what we're hearing from different people in the industry, that is, if you can institute it, if you have transmission now and you have to already institute that process, you might as well at least have the conversation about instituting on the distribution side so that you have it in place if it does come on the pike. So we need to have some conversation internally about that process, but it's going to be a lot more documentation, a lot more record keeping. Manufacturers would have to be, involved in making sure that they're providing, stuff that we're getting in shipments would have the information or documentation that we need. So we're working through that piece, but that's just another example of some, additional regulations that are going to create, more stringent documentation and information that needs to be kept on what's on your system and what's coming out of your system and in case of issues. And then we're in the preliminary stages of working through a general permitting process to get that section of pipeline off of our school road bridge and then into the underground boring into the river basin. So we're working with SEH, Justin Black, to help us with the permitting process. So he's going to be working through some information to get us some stuff put together. We're going to be meeting, I think, the next week or two to go through all the information we need to submit to the DNR and to the agencies to get a permit to be able to do that function. So I would anticipate that would come back to you if we get the permitting sometime, probably summer or fall project is what we'd be looking at to have that taken off the bridge and board and reconnected to our distribution system to the south end. And that would also help us alleviate some of the bad spots we have kind of in the southwest corridor. We'd had some additional capacity there. So that may be coming through. That wasn't a budgeted item in the CapEx, but we've got money in the CapEx that we haven't done anything with until we get the new manager put in place, so we would have room to do that project, and that would be a good project to get that off the bridge anyway. So working through some of that stuff with staff as well. And then I did send out the Owatonna survey. I don't know if you guys have had a chance to look at some of that, but I did send you that as well. I sent it to Matt and Mark as well, but again, I think it just reiterates when Justin talks about, hey, the average cost of power in the state's 12 cents and we're at 10. That's typically what we have found either locally or nationally. With some of the commissioners that have been here, we're typically 20% below average retail rates. Even with our rate increases, everyone is doing the same thing, and so we're continually staying well below on the rate. And actually, and then on the gas side, if you look, we've actually come down where we were at with rating down now with a lot of these credits we're giving back because we've been able to restructure some of our gas contracts. We're starting to tick down towards the middle of the pack or below on the gas side too. So the message, I think, is that, again, with reliability and the cost of what people are paying for their utilities, we're very market competitive and where we need to be. So So there's also room to do different things as well too, based on where.
Definitely help recruit potential new businesses and energy users.
Right. So we've got a lot of good things going here, and that's just another example of kind of benchmarking and stuff. So.
Be a perfect time to try to diversify some of that use.
Correct. So that's kind of what's going on in the short term.
All right. Thanks again, Jeremy. Item 7, policies. Looks like we have a couple to review, and we do have just a few to approve.
Yeah, there's no substance changes to any of the policies. It's just more language cleanup as far as taking the word director out of the policies, since we only have managers here.
Okay, sounds pretty simple. Anybody care to make a motion to approve that?
I'll make that motion to approve the policy changes.
I'll second.
Motion by Don, second by Tom. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? That motion is approved. 8, unfinished business. We have none. We'll go to agenda item 9, which is to approve the HDI substation transformer repair. It looks like Dave.
Yeah, in January, we found our substation transformer to have a nitrogen leak, so we had to take that out of service in January. We contacted a company called Global Transformer Solutions. They came out and had to do a full inspection on it, take it apart and see what the issue was. Found, kind of gave an inspection report on it. And evaluating all of our previous oil sample reports and maintenance records along with this, they recommended to do the repair. There's some life left in that transformer. And then they submitted their replacement proposal to repair that transformer. So I'm looking to approve that for $140,000.
You agree that it should be repaired?
Yeah, it's definitely, I mean, new transformers are well over $1 million, so.
If you could
Is it still years to get them?
Yeah, I would imagine.
That would be that size, yeah.
Yeah,
How many years?
It's quite a few years, I think.
Maybe a year or two out on getting a brand new transformer. Maybe over $1 million plus. We had that same conversation internally. How much useful life are we going to get? And if we don't repair it, we can't use it. It's not in service right now. So even if we wanted to put a new transformer, we'd have to repair the one that we have and then
Sure.
purchase a new one, because right now we have a lot of people in the backfeed,
yeah.
and we want to get out of that before the summer load comes around, so that if we have an issue on the backfeed that they're on and something goes around the backfeed, then we'll help out with
Sure.
that. So,
How soon can we do this? Is this
We're hoping, we have doing some other things in the sub right now. We're hoping to be mid to end of April is what they're hoping to get done.
How much life do you think it's gonna?
Well, right now, we're at, 28 years roughly. We're hoping, I mean, it should be 35, 50 years. Okay, with the maintenance we've been doing on it, they went through the whole thing when they did the inspection, and everything else was good. So this needs to be taken care of.
Seems right no-brainer.
Yeah.
all right? Well, sounds good, Dave. Thank you. Anybody?
I'll make a motion to approve the HTI substation transformer repair.
Motion by Troy,
I'll second.
second by Tom. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion is approved. Unless there's anything else, next item's to adjourn.
So move.
Motion by Don,
Jeez, that was quick. Second.
second by Troy. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.